Hello, welcome to Life Talk for Tuesday, August the 21st, 2018. I'm Mark Crutcher, president of Life Dynamics, and I'm here with the usual suspects, my assistant Renee Hobbs. Hello, Renee.
Hello.
And my daughter, the Doppy, Sheila Crutcher.
Hi.
She loves that nickname. Right? Yeah. Well, actually, we won't tell the whole story, but that's a nickname you actually gave yourself, if you remember correctly.
Well, I don't remember, but I remember the story.
Yeah. And another issue we've got to deal with here is that by this time next week, by our next show, somebody here is going to be a year older.
I know it.
Your birthday's tomorrow.
My birthday will be tomorrow.
Right.
So. Happy birthday, Renee.
Happy birthday, Renee.
Happy birthday.
Boy, at your age, they're whistling by, aren't they?
Yes, and my kids, they're whistling by. You know, it's just.
I tell you what, as you
life.
get older, they whistle by even faster.
Yeah.
I mean,
I see that.
they go by rapidly when you get older. But, and you know, when you're a kid and your parents talk about how short life is, you think you're nuts. It seems like an eternity till
We
Christmas.
can't even get to the double digits here. 10 years old is a big thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, when you start getting into your 40s and your 50s, and now me for 70, you know,
Slow
they whistle.
down.
They whistle by pretty quick. They whistle by pretty quick. It seems like yesterday, and I'm sure it does to you too, that you had your kids. But the day we brought Sheila home, of course, people may not know, Sheila's adopted. We adopted her, and the day we brought her home from the lawyer's office, I mean, I can remember it like it just happened, literally like it happened yesterday.
Yeah.
28
like
years
an
ago.
hour ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't remember it, though, so.
It was a special time.
Yeah, it was for us. And, you know, the adoption process didn't work out all that well for us, as you can tell, you know.
Oh, my.
So,
Don't
but
listen to that.
Don't listen to that.
No.
it worked out pretty good, I'd say. Anyway, we got a lot of stuff we're going to be getting to today. And then we've got a big story here at the end of the show about maternal instincts. We kind of got into it a little bit yesterday, but some other things have happened since then.
Yeah.
But first, we've got a few things in the news to cover, and we're going to get right to those. I heard a story the other night on the news. I thought it was pretty cool. There's a guy who's Toys R Us went out of business, and there's a guy who's bought up the stock that they had left over, and he's going to distribute it to poor children. And I thought, that's
great.
really
That is.
a good thing to do.
Definitely.
But it kind of reminded me of something that we need to remind other people of. Why did Toys R Us go out of business to begin with?
Well, some people would say it's because of online shopping, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
but,
Other people are surviving,
right.
but Toys R Us was a big contributor to Planned Parenthood.
Yes,
Which
they
is
were.
very ironic for,
Toy company.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They were killing off their own customer base.
Yeah.
And when you look at people like Gerber
Yeah.
and Oshkosh B'gosh,
Johnson & Johnson.
Johnson & Johnson, all these people.
They're killing off their own customers, basically.
Right, that's right. And they deserve to go out of business. But anyway, one of the things that's happening, we see in the news quite a bit lately, and I've seen a lot of this, especially since Kavanaugh was appointed to the Supreme Court. All these polls now coming out showing how the American people radically support abortion. But prior to that, every poll that we've seen recently over the last 5 or 6 years is talking about how the country is becoming more pro-life. But all of a sudden now, the pendulum has swung totally the other way, according to these people.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the polls I saw the other day, just to show you how dishonest the American media is, one of these polls came out and said the American people just dramatically support, 80% support retaining Roe versus Wade. And this is part of the Kavanaugh situation.
Well, first of all, who would believe that? 80%
Right.
with, so many people talking out against abortion. Who would believe
And
that?
well,
in
and
the
one of the
first
polls
place?
was taken just here in Texas. And if you think Texas is this radically pro-abortion
Yeah.
state, you haven't lived here.
They're trying to make it that
trying to
way,
make
and
it
they're
that
trying to, make it appear that we are, but we're not.
But this one poll that I showed, it was taken by a company in New York and reported around the country as fact. The question was, the Roe versus Wade decision established a right to abortion in the first 3 months of pregnancy. Do you support that decision or not? And they're lying.
Yeah.
They're lying through their teeth in order to get the results that they
That
want.
they want. Yeah,
Because they know good and well, if
Right.
they'd have come out and said the truth, the Roe versus Wade decision established legalized abortion up to the moment of birth.
Right.
The polling numbers would have plummeted for abortion,
Right.
and they knew it.
Yeah.
It's important to look at, number one, who is conducting the poll,
Yes.
Right.
and number two, the questions that are being used. Because the way you question it, you can insert bias in there, research bias,
Yeah.
which shifts the results.
Yeah, yeah. Depending on what you're looking for, you're gonna get those results. You're gonna make it where you
and
get those results.
It depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's another thing. So ask the question truthfully. Say, do you support legalized abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy? And go on the square in Denton, Texas and take the poll and see what kind of results you get.
Yeah.
But these people lied, and then they go out on the streets of New York City or Los Angeles, California, or Washington, D.C.
Or go out, Berkeley,
Right.
campus.
Right.
And so, I mean, they're concerned about researcher bias, and conducting good polls on other issues. But abortion, let's just throw those rules out the window,
I would also point out that these are the same polling companies that predicted Donald Trump did not have a chance.
Yeah.
It's not that it would be close. They were saying that it was going to be a landslide. Right up till the day of the election, it was going to be a landslide. And it was. It's just not the landslide they thought.
Right.
It's a landslide the other way.
So you have to take those polls with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. Because, especially in the case where the media takes them, because they're a pack of pathological liars. And we've been saying that for years, and it's
And
true.
Trump is exposing that every time he speaks.
One of the things I heard somebody say the other day is that Trump has pushed the Democratic Party further to the left. That's nonsense. All he's doing is revealing how far to the left they are.
Already
Right.
are.
They didn't swap all of a sudden because of Donald Trump.
And that's why you have like this walk away movement.
Right.
Because, people who were with the Democratic Party, they were for classic liberalism, not socialism or
Marxism.
communism. Yeah.
What we're seeing today.
Well, yeah, and I think that their voices have even gotten louder because they're trying to fight against what Trump
Right.
is revealing to everybody. And so, they can make as much noise as they want.
It doesn't change the
doesn't
reality.
That's right.
Right, it doesn't. And speaking of Democrats, in Missouri, the Democratic Party there several months ago inserted some language into their state platform saying that they wanted to be more inclusive on issues, including abortion, so that people who were pro-life and Democrats could feel welcome in the Democratic Party. Now they've removed that language. The pro-aborts raised a ruckus about it, and they've removed it, and they have literally said people who are pro-life are not welcome in the Missouri Democratic Party. But that's true across the country. It's not just Missouri.
Yeah.
Right.
So this idea that you're going to have this big groundswell of pro-life Democrats is just nonsense. They're not going to be allowed to function.
I mean, there are some,
Yeah.
there are pro-lifers in every party.
Right.
But, there's a reason why the majority of pro-lifers aren't in the Democratic Party is because, the
good reason
warm
for that.
welcome that they don't get.
Yeah.
Right.
And speaking of that, if we thought that we were done with the Clintons,
Oh, my goodness.
think again.
No, they're going to keep on popping up,
They're-
unfortunately.
It's like trying to get rid of an STD or something. I guess it's pretty difficult. Speaking of
my.
that, well,
That's a good
it's
analogy.
true. Chelsea Clinton now has made this claim that, what did she say? Let me get the deal here out. This is unbelievable. And I'm telling you, I told my wife some time ago that she was going to be worse than Bill or Hillary if she continued. Because that apple's not going to fall far from that tree.
Yeah.
That's right.
And she's just going to be worse.
learned from them, too.
She claims that the 60 million aborted babies that we've had since Roe versus Wade have added, the killing of those babies has added $3.5 trillion to the American economy. This girl is lying through her teeth.
First of all, I want her to show the the research or the proof, which she can't. That's
She
obviously
just
her.
grabbed this
Yeah.
out of the air.
That's obviously her opinion. And plus, as other people have brought up, what about the tax dollars that, these children that she murdered, what about those tax dollars? That's a lot of tax dollars that the United States can't get because they're dead,
There was an article
Eventually,
again this
they would
morning.
pay it.
Another article this morning in the Dallas paper about not only the fact that the Texas economy is booming more than any other state, but that it is being held up because we don't have enough workers.
I was going to make that point, is that all of these babies that have been killed off, that we're having to pull in illegals to replace them. But another thing is that she's trying to retract from what she said. There was an article that came out yesterday that says that Chelsea never said aborting 60 million babies was good for the economy.
She was lying.
Yeah.
Whoever said that's lying because she did say it.
She did say it,
And
but
it's
she's
on
trying to
video.
say that she
Yeah.
didn't say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, Franklin Graham, who I tell you, I never, I hate to say this because it's like you're saying something bad against somebody you should. I never had a lot of respect for Billy Graham, but his son, Franklin Graham, is 100%. I've never seen him say anything, heard him do anything that you could disagree with as a Christian. But he said her defense of abortion is similar to Hitler defending the killing of Jews for economic reasons.
Yeah.
So, and it's exactly the same thing. So she's saying we needed to kill these 60 million babies so the rest of us could have more money in our pockets. Well, it's a lie because there's been several economists that have looked at this and said abortion has actually cost us trillions of dollars, not saved us trillions.
Which makes sense.
And it is bankrupting the Social Security system and the Medicare system. As we speak, it is bankrupting.
And I mean, it's not only from economic standpoint, but population standpoint as well. Look at, China and Russia and those other countries that have killed off so many of their people that now they don't have.
They're
paying
Yeah.
women to get pregnant.
Exactly. And also they're elderly. There's not enough people to help take care of their elderly.
Right. Well, that's what's happening right here.
Yeah, exactly.
We've talked about this many times on the show before about the relationship between abortion and immigration. The argument that immigrants, well, let's be realistic here. We all know as Texans, and we've heard about this immigration issue since I was in high school. I can remember because we're on the border. The Texas economy would collapse tonight if you rounded up all the illegal aliens and sent them back. The Texas economy would collapse. You and I have talked about this before. When we rehabbed this building, not one of the people working here was not Hispanic. Not one of them.
Right.
But anyway, blacks are starting to pick up on something too that's very interesting. There was a guy that I've seen before, and he's a really, really sharp guy named Chris Salcido. He's a Hispanic talk show host. He was on Fox News not long. And this is what he said. He said, Democrats have supported the killing of so many black babies and abortions that their political future now depends on getting the votes of more illegal immigrants.
Yeah, definitely.
He's picking up on it. And what he said was, he's talking about the black community. He said, a lot of people in the black community are recognizing that the Democratic Party is throwing them overboard for illegal aliens.
That is
And
true.
the support among blacks for Trump has more than doubled since the election.
Exactly. And plus, like in past elections, you've seen voter fraud because they didn't have enough supporters.
Right.
Well, they've been killing off people that might possibly have supported them,
And this goes back to the Dublin 8, whatever is it called?
NAACP.
Thank you, thank you. Tongue twister. But there's pro-life leaders that are going down there, and because of MAFA 21, they're changing they're tuned and they're opening their eyes to see the reality of what's going on here.
Clenard Childress called us. He's one of the people in MAFA. Just this about 2 weeks ago, he sent us an email or called us or something, and we talked to him on the phone about it. And he said the sentiment at the NAACP convention, which he goes to all of them, he said is radically changing because of MAFA 21.
Right.
And he said it's making a tremendous impact, and he's having people come up talk to him about it. He said we could have never talked to him before.
Would have never,
Right.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned the walk-away movement. We learned in that conversation, which I didn't know, that the walk-away movement is being driven in large part by MAFA 21.
MAFA 21, yeah.
Because blacks are saying, hey, wait a minute.
We're being targeted.
Yes.
They don't care about us.
We've been lied to.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And so that's a really, thing that we didn't even know was happening. MAFA continues to have a big impact out there, and we're
good.
really, really proud of it. Yeah. Anyway, the point I was going to make a moment ago is that whatever you think about illegal immigration, whichever side of that argument you fall out and down on, the argument that they're taking jobs away from Americans that Americans don't want is nonsense. They're taking jobs away from Americans that don't exist. We've lost population in this country. You have to have like 2.1 children per family, per married couple or per couple, in order to make the population just stay even. Right now in the United States, we're at like 1.73, 1.74. If you go back over the last 50 years and you take immigration out of the mix, we've lost population.
Yes.
That is bankrupting Social Security. Right. Social Security was designed on the basis that there would always be a steady and increasing population.
Right.
We are destroying ourselves. And I'm telling you, what the government realizes is that we're not going to stop illegal immigration because we don't want to stop it.
Yeah.
It will collapse our economy if we do.
We need it, yeah.
We need them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it is an absolute crime what is going on here. Because I've said before, they can stop it anytime they want to. Pass a federal law that says if you hire somebody that you haven't checked their Social Security number to make sure that they're a legal alien, a legal American to have a job,
Right.
if you hire them, you go to prison. You do that, illegal immigration stops overnight. Our biggest problem would be out here on Interstate 35, the traffic jams of Mexicans headed back to Mexico.
That's right.
But they don't do that, even though they know it would happen, because they also know that those immigrants would take our economy with them, and they'd be gone. The other question is, I think the American government, and I hate to buy into every conspiracy that comes along, but I think the American government and the Mexican government are in collusion on this deal. You cannot tell me that a country that has potentially the wealth that Mexico has, with all the silver reserves they have, the incredible oil reserves they have, they have a climate where you can grow anything in the world that you can grow. Anywhere in the world, you can grow it in Mexico. You have an industrious, hardworking people. You're telling me that for generation after generation after generation, the most productive employees of any society are young males. They all have to leave that country to feed their families.
Well, I mean, some people could argue that it's because of a corrupt government.
It is.
Well, but I mean, you know, things are getting really, really bad, they could have already the people could have tried to start fixing that.
Well, the level of corruption that exists in Mexico is so predominant, is so
ingrained
and pervasive. It's very difficult for them to throw that off. But I'm telling you, the Mexican government and the American government, U.S. government, have a vested interest in keeping things just like they are. They don't want these guys in Mexico being able to get jobs there and feed their families. The American government wants them coming here because we're killing off the generation that was supposed to be taking all these jobs. And that's what's happening with the immigration situation. We've talked about it many times, and people are starting to pick up on it.
And the people that, say, oh, the less population, the better, better on earth, resources, blah, blah, blah. Some of them are starting to say, wait a second, we've killed off too much of our population. We're seeing negative effects of it. We need to start going the other way.
Right. The population of Texas is booming. I mean, we're adding, this is unbelievable. I saw it in this North Texas Council of Government Studies a few weeks ago. 150,000 people a year just to Dallas-Fort Worth. That's a whole new city the size of Denton.
Yeah, really.
Every year we're adding to the Dallas-Fort Worth population. That's a symbol of economic growth.
Yes.
You go to states where they're losing population,
California.
their economies are collapsing. Detroit's a good example of that. It's sad to me when I go to Detroit. That was a great city. It was a fantastic city at one time. And it was more than twice the size of Dallas. Now it's half the size, or less than half the size of Dallas.
Chicago is another example.
Chicago is another. But anyway, minority populations are starting to pick up on this. And I think it's scaring the life out of the Democrats. It's scaring them to death.
Well, it should. I mean,
should.
People are starting to wake up to what they've been doing.
Right. Well, speaking of waking up, last week we had a little segment on how abortion has destroyed the maternal instincts of American women. And when we come back from RoeBots here in just a second, we're going to talk about that a little bit more because that's a very important issue. Anyway, let's take a moment out for RoeBots.
In 1973, the U.S. Supreme Court legalized abortion nationwide. The decision is called Roe versus Wade, and those who defend it are known as RoeBots. This is how they think.
There is no basis for making abortion illegal. No one can prove when life begins.
This is pure nonsense. No scientific, biological, or medical textbook says that life begins at any point other than when the male's 23 chromosomes combine with the female's 23 chromosomes. To put it another way, it is simple deductive reasoning that life begins at fertilization because that's the only time it can begin. But if it were true that we really don't know when life begins, then we couldn't say it's begun at birth or at age 5 or at 50. By the abortion industry's logic, the law could never convict someone for murdering a 30-year-old woman because there's no way to prove that her life had begun. Obviously, the fact that she was alive makes it self-evident that her life had begun, but somehow we use a different standard when it comes to the unborn. And even if it were true that no one can prove when life begins, that is still not a justification for legalized abortion. To argue that it should be legal to butcher the unborn by the millions because no one can prove that they are living human beings is no different than the jury in a capital murder case sentencing a man to death because the defense did not prove that he was innocent. Our system is that since the state is the one taking the action, the burden of proof belongs to them. In other words, the prosecution is required to prove that the man is guilty in order to convict him, but the defense has no obligation to prove anything in order to justify leaving him alone. So why don't we apply this standard to the abortion issue? Why aren't we saying to the pro-choice mob, before you can kill the unborn, you have to prove beyond a doubt that they are just worthless clumps of cells? After all, even though their claim that no one knows when life begins is a lie, it is at least an admission that life might begin at fertilization. So the rational and moral approach would be to have a moratorium on abortion until we can say with certainty whether we are killing living human beings or not. But the abortion lobby would never agree to that. In fact, a significant number of them now contend that abortion should be allowed even if it's biologically proven that the unborn are living human beings. The question then becomes, if the humanity of the unborn is irrelevant when deciding whether they can be killed, why is it relevant for 5-year-olds and 50-year-olds? Welcome back. Like we said a moment ago, last week, I think, Sheila, you brought it up more than anybody else, that abortion is destroying, and you and I have talked about this for years, Renee, it's destroying maternal instincts among women.
It is.
And maternal instincts have just almost disappeared among some people.
Yeah, they have.
Yes, they have, definitely.
And I mean, it's sad because like we still see maternal instincts in animals.
Right,
like,
that was the subject last week.
Strong.
Yeah, with like
Strong
that,
maternal
you know, killer whale that mourned the loss of her calf, you know.
Yeah.
It's sad that we're seeing more maternal instincts in animals than we are in humans.
Yeah, we talked about how we had that deal with the gorilla, that the female gorilla, her baby died, and she carried him around in her arms for weeks.
Yeah.
At some zoo here in the United States.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
I saw an article in paper the other day from Wendy Davis. I know you're a big fan of Wendy
I
Davis.
am not a fan of Wendy Davis.
Rabid pro-abort, ran for governor here in Texas, and was going to win because there was going to be this big shift, right?
yeah.
And she got slaughtered. But anyway, she's had abortions, of course.
And proud of it.
And
too.
proud of it.
Yeah.
And she said she aborted her baby, and it was a decision of, quote, empathy and understanding, because there was a concern the baby might have
Right.
health problems.
Right.
Oh, so
You know-
I'm sure the baby understood.
Oh, yeah,
And, you
right.
know, if the baby could speak out, oh, yeah, you know, go ahead. I understand your decision. Go ahead and kill me.
I feel the pain while you're ripping me apart in the womb or sucking
Yeah,
me
right.
down. Yeah, that's a joke.
Right. But we had another article that reminded me that one that I had given to you
Yeah.
from New York Magazine.
Yeah. Yeah, this lady in here is trying to justify why she should have aborted her baby when she found out that her baby had cystic fibrosis. And all the way through this magazine, she is constantly talking about if she would have known, she would have aborted.
But she adores her baby.
But she adores her baby, but her baby is such an inconvenience for her because she's having to constantly give him breathing, put the breathing machine on him, and twice a day for 30 minutes. But the older he gets, the more she has to do it. And then, you know, the lung disease and things that go on, or infections that go on, she has to do other medications for him. So he's such an inconvenience for her. And yeah, I mean, she just talks about how she would have aborted him had she had known that he had this from the very beginning.
While claiming that she adores this baby. That was the
Yes.
word she used.
I wonder
right.
if she's told that to him, his face. Hey, I, you know, I had you, but I wish I had just, you know, had an abortion and killed you.
Well, she says that she's going to tell him when he gets old enough, which is insane.
What a
to
great
me.
mother.
She is such a, yeah, she needs a pat on the back, doesn't she?
Right. But this is the inevitable result of legalized abortion.
Yeah.
You cannot expect a pro-abort like this, and this is to have those kind of maternal instincts. And it kind of goes to something that I've said before. We mentioned adoption at the first of the show. I have said for years, we've got a deficit for every person that for every baby that's out there to be adopted. There's like 22 or 24 families waiting to adopt.
Yeah.
It took us over 4 years of waiting to get Sheila. My argument has always been, I don't think people who would label themselves pro-choice should be legally allowed to adopt a baby.
No.
Because their views on the life of that child
Right.
are not consistent with a decent parent.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, as far, you know, as they're concerned, that child right there that they're wanting to adopt could have been killed because the mother didn't want the child.
Well, what they're saying is
right.
the child that we would like to adopt does not have a right to life. It only has a right to life if we give it.
Right, because that mother chose to
Right.
to have this baby adopted out. Well, and this lady was saying if they would have only done IV, in vitro fertilization, to have her perfect designer baby with the big blue eyes and the blonde curly hair and
Right.
you know, everything that she wants.
And they'll openly state that. That's the thing that's scary. They do not see the immorality of that, and that's why I'm saying somebody with that mental attitude right there should not be allowed to adopt a child.
Yeah.
Because it's
That's
about
a disqualifier.
Because it's about them,
It's about
and not
them,
the child.
not the baby.
Well, I know, and even her attorney, I know I keep going back to this, but it just upsets me so bad. But even her attorney was like, look, your baby's sitting right here. While we're talking about suing for wrongful birth,
Right.
your child is sitting right here. Look at this baby.
Yeah, and how can she possibly say that she adores the child, but oh, I should have killed you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope she never adores me.
Yeah.
Right.
Adore me
She
like
doesn't
that.
have to take care of you when you're
Right.
older.
But anyway, these are just this nitwit Wendy Davis. And by the way, just to see what kind of person we're talking about here, Wendy Davis, in an article that was in the Dallas or Fort Worth paper, I think it was, because she was from Fort Worth, unfortunately.
She's long gone. Fort Worth, it does not.
She's in the dust.
Yeah. It's
But,
way too good for her.
Yeah. Yeah, I grew up in Fort Worth, and it's not, I'm not proud to say Wendy Davis is from Fort Worth by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, first of all, I think she's honestly just trying to keep herself to stay relevant. Nobody cares about her anymore. Yeah. She keeps on saying these things just, to stay relevant.
You know what I think she's doing?
What?
I think she's auditioning for the
to be the president
head of Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's
well, and there's a movie that's coming out on her, The Filibuster, that Sandra Bullock, which makes me so upset. I like
Me
Sandra
too.
Bullock as
I
playing
know.
her.
right.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace. But just to show you what kind of person this is, she admitted her first husband was much older than her and was very wealthy. She admitted that she married this much older man for the money. So, because she wanted to go to a Ivy League school. The week that she graduated from Harvard, she left him and left him with her 2 children.
Yeah.
That's what kind of person you're talking about here.
Yeah.
And when she did her big filibuster stand, the pro-aborts, of course wouldn't mention that because they were.
Oh, no.
Because they were, she was their hero and.
Right.
And
in
knight in
Texas,
shining
that wouldn't play
armor.
too well.
No.
Wouldn't play very well in Texas, for sure. Wouldn't play well in any place.
No. So the media tried to keep that quiet.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's it.
That's it.
Y'all got anything else?
Janet Jordan says hello, and Rita says love. I don't know, love yours or something like that. Hello.
That's on Facebook.
Hi,
Hello, Rita.
everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Jordan, was it?
Janet Jordan.
Janet Jordan.
Yes.
Janet was my sister's name.
Yes, that's a pretty name.
Should have remembered that, right? Anyway, that's it?
That's it.
You got anything else?
Except
Sheila?
for happy early birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Merry birthday.
Merry birthday to me.
Right. And we won't say how old you are. I know how old you are.
If people want to go to my Facebook page, they'll figure it out real quick.
Yeah, you can discover if you're that curious.
That's okay.
But yeah, they're whistling past now.
I've got gray hair.
You're kind of down for the count. It's your
Thanks,
days
Mark.
now that you've entered your golden years.
Yeah.
Your days are dwindling down to a
Are they
precious
numbered?
few. Yeah, right. Of course, you are 26 years younger than me, so where does that put me, right?
Oh, good. Now people can do the
Yeah.
math.
Right.
There we go.
That's true.
I think it's 27 then.
Anyway, that's it, Doppy. That's it, Rennie.
That's it.
All right. Until next Tuesday, remember, Life Dynamics is not here to put up a good fight. We're here to win, because winning is how the killing stops. We'll see you then.